The Stranger is one of the most polarizing characters in The Walking Dead, yet despite that, his role is often overlooked. At first glance, it's easy to label him as just another villain, or even as a reflection of the player's own choices. But there's far more to his character than that. In this video, I'll show you why the Stranger is not only significant, but far more important than many fans realize. Let's get the obvious out of the way. Yes, The Stranger is the game's way of critiquing your choices. The way you care for Clementine and treat others might feel throwaway at times, with certain decisions appearing to carry no weight. The Stranger acts as a narrative fix to that problem. Your past actions become the very reason for his obsession, ultimately leading to Clementine's kidnapping. It's a fascinating and unsettling twist, making you feel as if every choice was being watched by something greater, something sinister lurking just beyond the edges of your journey. However, that's only a surface level reading of who the Stranger is and why he exists in the story. It doesn't fully align with The Walking Dead's broader commitment to creating layered characters, with deeper purposes woven into the narrative. So before diving into the Stranger's lasting impact on Clementine, we need to start with Lee. Lee Everett is the game's central protagonist, a convicted criminal who killed the man having an affair with his wife. In many ways, Lee enters the apocalypse already condemned, carrying society's judgment on his back before the dead even rise. When the outbreak begins, Clementine becomes his path to redemption. Through protecting her, Lee finds a chance to atone for his past, to prove his worth, and ultimately to show that even a flawed man can rewrite his story. The Stranger, on the other hand, was the model citizen, an ordinary family-driven man, maybe even successful. He coached children's football, someone the community could rely on. But here's the crucial detail many overlook. Where Lee gained a new life in the apocalypse, the Stranger lost his. Scarcity and mounting pressure tore his family apart. He isn't just broken by the world, he's erased by it. The man who once stood tall in his community now doesn't even have a confirmed name. Interestingly, developers once planned to call him Mitch Campman, but they deliberately scrapped it. A quiet meta-level signal of how completely the world has erased him. Lee was a murderer in a world before the fall, but the Stranger only became one once the walls closed in. Driven to desperation, he kills his wife and keeps her severed head, whether as a direct result of Lee taking his supplies or simply after those resources dwindled on their own. It's also worthy to point out that stealing the supplies was a group decision, yet the Stranger directs all his hatred at Lee, highlighting the very hypocrisy that defines him. Many misunderstand the Stranger's obsession with Lee. It isn't just about what you did to him. No matter your choices, he'll always find a reason to despise you. His hatred runs deeper. He sees himself as superior because he didn't lose control until after the world ended. In his eyes, a man like Lee can't be trusted with a child. Lee doesn't deserve a happy ending if the Stranger can't have one himself. In that sense, the Stranger becomes more than just an enemy. He embodies the society that once condemned Lee, even taking on the role of the judge and jury that sentenced him. And like any flawed judge, his verdict is riddled with hypocrisy. He calls Lily broken, and even condemns you for abandoning her, if that was your choice. While Lee is painted as a monster, everyone else is offered sympathy. The encounter with the Stranger is often overlooked in general though, because it begins deceptively calm, more like an interrogation than a showdown. He asks if you're armed, demands honesty, and even cross-checks your answers against Clementine's testimony. But once he delivers his verdict of guilt, the calm breaks, and that's the moment he decides Lee must die. Beyond being able to kill Lee outright in their fight, the Stranger's choices indirectly led to Lee's bite, and depending on your playthrough, Ben's death and even Kenny's presumed demise. A stark reminder that his thirst for revenge only claims more innocent lives. It's easy to dismiss him as just the game critiquing us, but that misses the point of who we're actually playing playing as. The stranger isn't just the game, he's Lee's past manifesting, a force that can't be bargained with once judgment has been passed. Whether Lee or Clementine delivers the final blow is significant, but the ultimate takeaway is the same. Unlike at the beginning, Lee overcomes the judgment of others by defeating the stranger. Now that we've unpacked why the stranger exists in the story, and what he represents for Lee, it's just as important to examine what he means for the future, and by that, I mean Clementine. All throughout Season 1, Clementine is on a constant learning curve, figuring out who's good, who's bad, who can be trusted, and who can't. Her choice to trust Lee at the very beginning sets that journey into motion, but it's also a dangerous gamble. Had Lee been cruel or selfish, Clementine might not have survived at all. Once Lee takes responsibility for her, the game makes it painfully clear that even a moment's distraction could cost her life, as shown in the drugstore when she's attacked the instant Lee looks away. That moment serves as the first subtle warning, though most players don't register it at the time. Then come the St. John's, her first taste of people who appear kind and generous, yet turn out to be far more sinister than they seem. And then Lily represents another hard truth. Even trusted allies, even friends, can transform into threats in the blink of an eye. Again and again, Clementine is exposed to darkness. Ben represents the weight of being a burden and how people choose to treat that. Kenny embodies family and how losing it can completely break a person. Katja shows that even those who seem content can be hiding deep pain. But there's a problem with all these lessons. Lee is the one who faces them directly, while Clementine only ever sees the filtered, sugar-coated version. Lee often assumes Clementine is too young to understand, so he shields her from the harsher truths. That silence leaves a gap, and the stranger fills it. With a gentle voice and patient words, he becomes her secret friend, explaining the world in ways Lee never dared to. He gains her trust, her information, and even checks on her well-being. The unsettling truth is that the stranger might have won over Clementine naturally, if not for Chuck. Chuck pushes Lee to open up, to teach Clementine how to survive and defend herself. That shift throws a wrench in the stranger's plans. Lee keeps a closer eye on her and eventually discovers what's been happening. But the reality is sobering. Even if Lee had stumbled onto it by chance, distractions were inevitable. Just like in the drugstore, the stranger would have found his moment, and Clementine could have been taken without Lee ever knowing. What most players underestimate is how close the stranger truly got. He always knew their location, their needs, and their vulnerabilities. And for Clementine, this wasn't just a seasonal lesson. It was something that carried into every stage of her journey. She became more guarded, more willing to take matters into her own hands. You can see it most clearly in the opening of Season 2. Clementine keeps nearly everything about herself hidden, offering only her name. It isn't until much later, around episode 4, that she finally begins to lower her defenses and trust the group. There's a strong argument that the stranger is what prepared Clementine for Carver, and ultimately for raising AJ. He was her first true lesson in trust and deception, shaping the way she learned to navigate danger. By the time we reach Season 4, much of Clementine's focus is on teaching AJ what's acceptable and who can be trusted. That connects directly back to the stranger, whose betrayal and manipulation set those questions in motion. In a way, AJ is being raised under the shadow of the stranger. Every lesson Clementine gives him about trust and morality is rooted in what she endured. Circling back to an earlier point, if Clementine is the one to shoot the stranger, it marks a defining shift. The moment she moves from innocent child to hardened survivor. It even foreshadows AJ's pivotal choice to shoot Lily, the point where second chances are no longer guaranteed. Ultimately, the stranger is one of the most misunderstood characters in The Walking Dead. He's often dismissed as one note, a villain who only mattered for a single season, but in truth he was Lee's final test, a monster from his past, and at the same time, a lasting lesson for Clementine's future. His death signaled more than the end of a confrontation. It confirmed that the world had changed forever, and innocence would never return. None of this would be possible without my members: Gog, Wizard Elf, Eternal Canadian, Rossmo, Beatbox Blade, Donny, Hoopensock, Bear, Jojo My Dojo, Alexander Brantley, MC DNHMR, Fresh Pokemon Hunter, Thy Oasis, and Skull Skills 777. Truly, you guys make it possible to run this channel, and so does everyone who watches my videos. I'm truly blown away by the support, and I really hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you.